all this time, he was never talking to you.
We're making a fortune with tariffs. $2 billion a day. Do you believe it? I was told $2 billion a day.
He said that yesterday at a dinner. And then today we find out a video leaks from the White House and he says,
It's actually an ended president. And he made $2.5 billion today and he made $900 million. That's not bad. Because, he's in financials.
because this whole time, he was never talking to you. At his rallies, he'd always say, you're going to have so much money, you won't know what to do with it. But he wasn't talking to you. That $2 billion isn't even going into the government. It's going into one man's pocket. He was never talking to you. How does that feel? Like you were having a conversation with somebody and come to find out the entire time they were talking to the person standing behind you, not actually you. He was literally looking into a camera because he was talking to the billionaires that he was going to make richer. And now he has these billionaires in his office bragging about how he made them richer off of your pain and suffering. You can't feed your kids? Who cares? They're richer. You can't send your kids to school? Who cares? They're richer. Your lights can't stay on? Who cares? They're richer. They don't care. He's literally bragging about making $2 billion in one day because of these tariffs, but then has made it very clear that these tariffs and the cycle up and down is never going to end because he's constantly making money.
You said that you have spoken to President Xi. When did that happen? China says it hasn't happened.
I spoke to him numerous times.
Donald Trump again admittedly saying he had spoken to Xi several times, when in fact he has never spoken to Xi since the tariffs began. Why does he keep making the same story? Is he talking to the wrong Xi? Are there any other people with, maybe it's like an Uber delivery driver and he's had a Xi in his name and he said he was talking to him about tariffs, because the president of China has never spoken to him and they've come out publicly. What's he going to lie about next?
Hello guys, welcome back again to my channel. It's so good to have you. Thank you so much for clicking when you saw this video. So I came across this on my FYP and I tend to share with you all, right? You guys already know that all this while Marcus has always thought that this whole money that will be coming in is about them. They will be making lots and lot of money. You know how all of them were saying, oh, during the COVID, doing this, doing that. When he was president, we have always enjoyed, cheaper groceries and of course making more money. Money was flowing from their pocket to pocket. Anyway, let's go find out what more they are finding out this period. Okay, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button to be part of the family. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up so that more people can see it. And credit to all creators on this video. Let's go watch, then we come back with the commentary.
So, to answer everyone's question, why don't you just make them in America now? Move your manufacturing here. If bringing manufacturing back to the US is the goal, why are companies like Apple and Microsoft, who are most likely able to bring manufacturing back to the US, off the hook? I get that if we don't let them continue to manufacture in China and exempt them from the tariffs, that our cell phones and computers, which we all use, are going to get ridiculously expensive. I get it. But the latest manufacturing that was done in the US that we were good at was tech manufacturing. And those companies moved their manufacturing to China. They have the biggest pocketbooks. They have the most likely ability to bring that manufacturing back to the US. I'm a small business. I invented a placemat. This is my prototype. I cut and glued this together. I made a product that stops babies from dropping and throwing their toys. It's a placemat. This is the real one. Suction cups on the bottom. Comes with little toy straps that allow you to attach toys so babies can't drop them and throw them on the ground. When my son was born, I had no idea how to turn it into a real thing. I was just a mom. I had a corporate job. I made one for a friend and she forgot it one night and she's like, oh my God, it was the worst not having it. I didn't realize how useful it was until I didn't have it. You need to make that for real. And I thought, wow, how would I do that? So I found a product developer who had the expertise to help me design the product for manufacturing. And that American product developer also had a team in China to help me start manufacturing. The reason I could not start my manufacturing in the US is because I am a small business. I cannot afford to make 20,000 units. The reason US manufacturers require such high production runs is because they have to import the raw material. The raw material does not exist in the US. And so they have to import that material in volumes that are big enough to bring down the costs. They also need the company they are manufacturing for to produce large amounts, because every time you switch out the machinery in a production line, you're not making money. It's downtime. So the factories in the US that have very high labor fees, that have very high expenses, they need to make product continually to be able to pay their bills. Totally understand that. So to start my business, we started in China, where they were willing to do very small production runs for us. Because when I invented this and I invested my own money into starting this company, I didn't know if people were actually going to buy it. I didn't know if it was actually, I thought it was a good idea. but I didn't know if other parents would want to buy it. Okay, turns out they have. Cool. So now fast forward 8 years, and I have products sitting in China, ready to come. In my warehouse outside, I have about 2 to 3 months of inventory. When that is gone, I have no more inventory to sell. So then I have to figure out, how am I going to pay my employees, pay my insurance, pay my lease when I don't have any revenue coming in? I have 3 months more product that's ready to ship to the US. However, it's going to cost me, what are we up to now? Let's see, we're up to $229,000 I have to come up with in 30 days just to get it across the border. On top of the cost I've already paid for that product. I own the product. But just to get it across the border, that cost, I have to increase my prices. I have to more than double my prices. I'm selling products to people with babies. They're trying to keep up with so many new expenses in their life, diapers, some getting formula, baby clothes, all the things you have to buy and carry around with you for a baby. While my products are great for baby's development and they make life so much easier as a parent, you don't need them to raise a baby. People are not going to pay double the price for my products. So I can't import them right now, but I also can't run out of money. All right. If I found a factory today that was willing to do this, that had the right equipment, that had the right raw material, who had time, because these factories are already booked. The factories in the US are working hard. They're not just sitting around waiting for new companies to come in. Well, let's just pretend that one is like, hey, Beth, come on, we'll do it for you right now. All right, cool. Let's do it. First, we need to make molds. A mold, and I'm going to try and put that in this video, is a steel plate that has cut out the shape of your product. And for my product, they take chunks of silicone, set it on the mold, which is heated, and then they compress it. It's compression molding, and it's heated, and it melts the silicone and smushes it into the shape of a mat, okay? Every piece of my product line has a different mold. The mini mat has a mold, the big mat has a mold, the bottle bungee has a mold, the tethers have a mold. I would need 8 new molds made. So you take American steel, which is not cheap. It gets sent to China to be tooled, to be turned into a mold to fit the shape, because that's where the expertise lies. And then it gets sent back. You do that 2 or 3 times until it's perfect. That process takes like 6 to 8 months. And because of the cost in the US, my molds, at a minimum, if I'm lucky, will be $20,000 a piece. So I need $180,000, $160,000 just for the molds, and I need 8 months to get them made. And that's before I can even start production. One production line with my mat can do about 100 mats a day. We sell more than that right now. So I need multiple production lines. I looked into starting my own factory. The cost of the equipment alone is $1 million, more than $1 million. Then I have to find somebody who has expertise. But since we don't do this type of manufacturing in the US, there aren't people here who have the expertise to run this product line. I have to pay more for insurance. I have to pay more for labor. The cost of my products will more than double. Who's going to buy them? Nobody. So for everyone thinking it's so easy to just make it in America, like I'm all ears. I am not opposed to that in any way whatsoever. Tell me how. Tell me what I'm not seeing here. Help me figure this out. Because I'll do it. I will do it. I will make it in America if we can find a way that keeps me in business. Leave a note in the comments. Okay? And I will reach out to you.
The thing is that most of these people who make this comment or who make this suggestion do not have any knowledge of how tariffs work or how these whole manufacturing companies work and what they need to settle in a particular country. Now, I have said this over time. You cannot expect a company that has access to raw materials in a particular country to leave that particular country and move to another country, all because they want to avoid being shut out from a particular market. It doesn't always work like that, because it has to take them a while for them to make connections, check out the processes and see if it works for them or not. Companies are not just like a business owner who sells clothes and say, okay, I think the US is open right now, maybe we should just move to the US, or I think China is better, let me just move to China. It doesn't always work like that. These are manufacturing companies that produce stuff, like things that people really need, right? It could be heavy equipment, it could be anything, but these people have to really sit down with their stakeholders and everybody, have a time to really think about it, have deep thoughts if US market will be better, or probably settle back in the country where they are situated. Especially if the raw material is there, then it's better for them, right? So telling people to come make it in the US, you now have to think about it very well before you make such utterances, because people have to now spend more money in the US. Like she said, raw materials are still gotten from China and not from the US, right? So they have to still send her mold to wherever in China to go have the mold, then bring it back for them to start production, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. And it takes like how many months again? Like 8 months for that to be done. Okay, it takes a long time, so it would really affect her production level, and somehow she might even lose customers. So advising people to do this just because you want them to buy from the US is actually not good for business at some point. Okay, and that's why you see how people go into China to really buy things, because a lot of equipment, lots of raw materials are in China, and that's why you see them leaving their country, not just the US, okay, to that China to go make whatever thing they have to make, okay. And not telling those companies to leave where they are and move to the US is something that you really need to think about deeply, okay, because they don't want to waste money, they don't want to lose money, and US is not their only market. So they have to really sit down and make a lot of consideration, and it also requires time, money, and a lot of things. I know that your daddy said, oh, move to the US, you know, placing tariffs on these countries will help more companies move to the US, but those companies also have to consider themselves and see where their market is really coming from, so much where they're making money. If they move to the US, are they still going to make a lot of money? Okay, like they are making currently staying in China? Well, guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Let's have that conversation. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up so that more people can see it. Thank you so much, and see you on my next video. Bye, guys.